You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Another day and another big jump of COVID-19 cases in Montana. This comes as the state is also reporting another death on top of another double-digit jump in cases. State health officials attribute the latest death to a case connected to Rosebud County. 29 new cases are reported today, bringing the total of active cases to 220 now. Yellowstone and Bighorn counties each have 34 active cases tonight. Well, the U.S. has shattered another record tonight. Nearly 45,000 people diagnosed with coronavirus in the last 24 hours. The virus is now crashing into the country's three biggest states, California, Texas, and Florida, pushing hospitals there to the brink and forcing many businesses that had reopened to close once again. CBS's Manuel Bevorquez has more.
There was another rush to get tested in Florida today. We found Olivia Pelaez and her father Jose at the line in Miami Beach.
He found out yesterday that his boss is infected, so he had to come today to get tested.
This afternoon, Governor Ron DeSantis tried to calm fears.
Really nothing has changed in the past week in terms of we had a big test dump. We've been testing 10 to 15% have been testing positive for really the last week.
But even he had to reverse course on reopenings. The state effectively ordered bars to shut down. Younger people are driving the surge of new cases. They have better survival rates, but can infect groups that don't, said Dr. Anthony Fauci at the first White House coronavirus task force briefing in nearly 2 months.
Now that may be somebody's grandmother, grandfather, uncle who's on chemotherapy.
31 states have reported a jump in cases compared to 2 weeks ago. Delaware, Maine, and New Mexico are among the latest to scale back reopenings. Former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden believes some states reopened too soon.
And these are places that opened while they were still increasing. To open while you're increasing is kind of like leaning into a left hook. You're going to get hit.
Do you unfortunately expect to see the death rate tick back up?
Well, there is a lag. So we're definitely going in the wrong direction nationally. In terms of deaths,
in Arizona, ICU beds are nearly 90% full. And while some treatments have improved, Phoenix Dr. Mutazar Akhtar still worries.
The real concern is the sickest people won't show up until a couple of weeks from now, and I'm really concerned about that.
No county has more COVID-19 cases now than Los Angeles. Richard Garay says 30 members of his extended family caught the virus. His father died from it.
You know, our parents should die of old age. They shouldn't have to succumb to coronavirus because somebody doesn't want to wear a mask or because somebody doesn't want to follow protocol during a crisis.
At the coronavirus task force briefing, Dr. Fauci urged what he called societal responsibility, saying that what is happening at hotspots now can affect other parts of the country, including states that brought their numbers down. Manuel Bevorquez, CBS News, Miami.
Well, real estate agents are saying people are more interested in moving to Montana right now because they want to escape the pandemic. MTN's Katie Miller has more on what some are calling the coronavirus migration.
Real estate is seeing all kinds of changes during the pandemic, from virtual showings
and the front entrance
to people deciding not to sell their homes.
When COVID was at its worst, we had the lowest amount of homes going for list.
Now that the state of Montana is reopened, real estate agents say they're seeing an increase in interest from out-of-state buyers.
People are looking for that space, the beauty of Montana, and probably less congestion, really.
Missoula Organization of Realtors President DJ Smith says there is always an increase in home buying interest during the summer, but pandemic restrictions in other places are pushing people to really make the move. According to Montana Regional MLS data, people are buying more homes in Missoula County. In May of 2019, there were almost 1,700 closed sales. This year, there were almost 1,800 closed sales. In Flathead County, closed sales increased from just over 1,900 last May to just over 2,100 this May. Montana is a non-disclosure state, meaning data from the number of out-of-state buyers to in-state buyers is not available. But Smith says, anecdotally, the pandemic seems to be the last straw for some home buyers.
they were already deciding to come to Montana or other surrounding areas, and this was just an accelerant of their plans.
Cindy and Pablo Rodriguez have been planning to leave California for a couple of years.
Here in LA, it's tough to raise a child nowadays, and then especially with the whole COVID thing happening too, that actually it triggered a lot of thinking for us.
They recently put an offer in on a house in Billings.
And it comes down to quality of life. I mean, what are you looking for? You pay well here, but if you can't enjoy it, then what do you?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're moving for our son.
Their son is 2 years old, and Cindy says they want to give him a better life in Montana.
What we look forward to is meeting new faces and new friends.
Hopefully, they're friends with our kids too.
Yeah.
Their agent, Nancy Brooke, says she's gotten calls from people in New York, California, Washington, and Colorado, all looking to move.
As long as interest rates are low, as long as Montana continues to have a better economy than other places in the United States, I anticipate that more and more people will be looking to locate to our state.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News.
And Smith says that some people looking for homes in Missoula have noticed a lack of inventory, a problem he says existed before the pandemic. Bighorn County health officials ordered all residents to wear face masks today when outside their homes. Wearing a mask will be necessary within 6 feet of another person. Some exception in writing if a health care provider directs otherwise or an employer sees the mask as endangering health and welfare. Children under the age of 2 will not need masks because of risk of suffocation. If need to communicate with someone who is hearing impaired, temporary removal is all right if necessary to perform a service outdoors with at least 6 feet of distancing.
This was a very tough decision. We debated it for at least 2 hours back and forth. We knew that it was going to be some heartburn for certain people, that we were going to get some enforcement questions. And I keep saying enforcement for a type of order like this is going to be peer pressure and knowing yourself that you're doing the right thing. And some of that is the only way you're going to get compliance. This is one way to get a handle on it. We don't necessarily want to go backwards. We want to try to protect the public's interest by this face mask order.
The Bighorn County attorney supports wearing masks, but states in a news release about the order that it does not meet sufficiency under the law for judicial enforcement and categorically is unenforceable. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic put a hold on countless events and opportunities. This includes experiences for the very people who wanted to be on the front lines, learning and lending a hand. Q2's Victoria Hill caught up with a PA student who shared what it was like to have it all put on pause.
More than pneumonia.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's questionable.
Hands-on learning is priceless when you're trying to get your foot in the door straight out of college.
Things were smooth sailing kind of up until March when COVID kind of started becoming a big deal.
Just months before her graduation, that real-life experience was put on hold for physician assistant student Abby and her classmates.
Which was tough. It was online learning, and that's, difficult during clinical rotations. You're not getting that hands-on experience.
It was a call made first by the schools to restrict their students from doing rotations, then shortly after, the hospitals followed suit.
When we were in a situation where it wasn't possible or feasible to have the students in the hospital, that was a detriment to their education.
But it didn't come lightly.
My first thought when they were talking about restricting students was, if I was that student, I'd be royally upset, because this is a educational opportunity that is not going to come around again. This is a lifetime experience, and I would have wanted to be in the middle of it.
It was a decision made for student safety, but also allowing doctors and staff to prepare for this new reality.
I just felt like, I'm being useless sitting at home. I'm not helping out where I can, and it was hard to come to terms with the fact that staying home was me doing my part.
With her current rotation in the emergency department, the chance of being exposed to COVID-19 is high, but that risk doesn't deter Abby.
I think this is kind of a changing point in medicine. I think no one really knew what to do when COVID hit, and providers that have been working 30 years had to learn how to deal with it. And so I think being a student during this time kind of was a saving grace for that.
Abby has been back since May, but some students are still waiting to return.
So I come from a family of doctors and nurses and people that work in medicine, so it's just kind of been something that I've always known and always wanted to do. And I think seeing this pandemic hit and seeing providers out there doing everything that they can, it just reminds me of why I want to do this. I want to help people. I want to be on the front lines.
In Billings, Victoria Hill, MTN News.
And the good news for Abby and her classmates, even with the time gap and rotations, their graduation is still set for August. Got an update tonight, more than 1 year after a Missoula man opened fire shooting 4 people in western Montana. Today, the 2 surviving victims, including Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer, were in the Missoula District courtroom as their attacker, Jonathan Birch, pleaded guilty to several charges, including deliberate homicide.
As to count 1, deliberate homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty.
As to count 2, attempted deliberate homicide, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Birch was charged with 2 separate shootings within hours that killed 2 people and critically wounded 2 others, including Trooper Palmer. In the first attack, Birch killed Shelley Hayes and wounded Casey Blanchard and his mother Julie off Expressway Boulevard in Missoula. Several hours later, Birch ambushed Trooper Palmer in Evero, Montana, shooting him several times in the head, leaving Palmer with a traumatic brain injury. Casey's mother, Julie Blanchard, died 3 months later from complications of multiple gunshot wounds. The Missoula County Attorney's Office might be seeking a venue change to accommodate all the people who might want to attend the sentencing when it's officially scheduled. Well, the state's top cop says the Montana Republican Party and an affiliated group broke the law. Commissioner of Political Practices Jeff Mangun says the GOP and a group called Montanans for Conservation did not accurately reveal how they spent $100,000 to place the Green Party on the ballot. They paid that money to a firm called Advanced Micro-Targeting to gather signature. The Green Party itself had nothing to do with it. The Montana Democratic Party says the GOP tried to conceal its efforts to use the Green Party to influence the November election. The Republican Party says it will contest the findings and that it did properly report its spending. The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to decide a Montana case next week that challenges separation of church and state, specifically Montana's constitutional ban to religious schools. Similar bans exist in 38 states. The Supreme Court ruling could allow students in religious schools the ability to seek private scholarships funded through state income tax credits. Still to come on tonight's 9 o'clock news, catching a fish while people are also worried about catching the coronavirus. The effect the pandemic has had on one of the many reasons people come to Montana in the summer to give fly fishing a try. And Bob will tell you how the weekend weather's shaping up right after the break.